Yeah, he was a spy. Give me a second. And his name too. Yeah, there we go. James Armstead Lafayette. Yeah, that guy. Yeah. So he was the one, African American who served the Continental Army during the Revolutionary War under Marquis de Lafayette and later received, this James Armstead, born around 1760, was an enslaved man who became a spy during the Revolutionary War.
Hey, Shalaki, can you got
Huh.
the clubhouse going too?
Say again?
You got
Yeah,
the
I got the
clubhouse?
clubhouse on. Uh-huh.
Okay, con. So
Oh, you ready to start?
yeah, Shakanya, could you read for a few minutes until Yazayan gets in? Are you in a position to?
I'm here, Elder. I'm literally like right down the street from the house. I'm just trying to make it to the house and get parked. I'm literally like
Yeah, yeah, that's
about
fine, King.
7
That's
blocks
fine.
from the house.
Yeah, that's fine. If Shakanya could start, you can pick it up when you get settled instead of holding it up.
Fine. All right. So let me go into it. How's everybody doing tonight? I'm Brother HASHAR Lamar. Before I begin, I'd like to give all praises to Yahweh Bashem, Mashak Yahweh Shai, double honors to the elders of HOI, elders of Bach, elder Torah, elder Sabal, to Deacon Shawapar and the Captain Ariala, and to all the senior men and men who was putting in this work. I'd like to say shalom, shalom. All right. So, today's class is going to be on, 4th of July or Independence Day. And I got something to show y'all a picture. I ain't going to show y'all now. This is crazy. But anyway, like I was saying earlier, the brother who won the war for us wasn't really the French, even though that is a French name, Lafayette. But James, Armistead Lafayette, he spied on the British and he spied on he spied for the British and he also spied for the Americans, but he was really for the Americans. And basically he did some good things. So if you guys want to look him up, James Armistead Lafayette. Let me just show you him real quick, just in case somebody want to take a picture of it. You know, uh, here you go, right here.
Real quick, Brother Bashar, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you unmute on Clubhouse for us? We can't hear you on Clubhouse.
Oh, no? Okay. How about now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me on Clubhouse?
No, it still shows that you're muted.
Really?
Try to go out and come back in because I know Clubhouse has been having some issues.
Okay. Water. Okay, how about now? Can y'all
All
hear
right.
me? You guys can hear me on Clubhouse? Okay, Con, water. All right. So like I was saying, the picture earlier we was talking before the class started. We was just talking about, the Revolutionary War and how one of our brothers won the war. This is him right here, James Armstead Lafayette. So you guys can take a picture of it, whatever, and Google it later. This ain't what the class is on, but just talking about, we even won the Revolutionary War. You know what I'm saying? So let me go ahead and stop sharing that. So hopefully you guys get a picture of them and stuff. Take a picture and then, Google his name later. All right. So without further ado, go ahead and read my script. So, all right. So today we're going to talk about Independence Day is what these people over here call it. And what exactly is independence? You know, well, it's something that is basically, us or these people who was over here who stole the land from, the Northern Kingdom, and they decided to fight their other brothers for it. thus calling it Independence Day. Well, here's our Independence Day. Our Independence Day was in the year they call 1134 BCE. So how you get the years from BCE, right, to today? So you go 1134 BCE plus 2025, right? That's going to give you 3,159. Then you go minus 1. So 3,158 years ago, we got our independence. All right. I say that just to, just to say that, there's nothing new under the sun. And this is a true independence from people who was wrongfully, well, we had to go through it, but they were doing a lot of things to us, and that was the Egyptians. So I don't think the brother's ready. Do I have a reader?
Yeah, I'll read for you until Yazian.
Nah, I'm ready. I'm at home. I'm just letting you talk. I'm ready.
Okay,
Okay.
gone.
Y'all on deck tonight. Let's get it.
Yeah, I'm just sitting in the parking lot waiting.
Con. Well, let me get the book of Exodus, chapter 12, verse 31 through 32. Baba Kusha.
Exodus chapter 20.
Exodus chapter 12, verses 31 through 32.
This is the book of Exodus chapter 12, starting at verse 31. When you have it, say con.
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 Come.
And he called for Moses and Aaron by night and said, rise up and get you forth from among my people, both ye and the children of Israel, and go serve the Lord as ye have said.
You can read
Also
it, brother.
take your flocks.
Shalaki, go ahead.
Also take your flocks. Oh, go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead. I apologize. My bad.
Okay. Also take your flocks and your herbs, as ye have said, and be gone, and bless me also.
Okay, Con. So just in case, what we have to understand. Well, let me go ahead and read my script first. Now, I just wanted to hit you with that because there's nothing new under the sun. And, these other nations are copycats. This is something that we went through, but this is in righteousness. He told Moses, Aaron, hey, man, look, y'all can rise up, go ahead, get from among us, you children of Israel, and go serve your Lord, as we didn't. But, that's another story. So the reason why I brought that out here, because, if you from this country, America, you'll just think the only Independence Day is America. They don't talk about no other nation, other people, no other, it's just America. And it's almost like growing up here when you're from this place and the average person never really leaves their city. This is like a fact. Half the, like 3/4 of the people from this Americas don't even leave their city. You know what I'm saying? That's why when military people, heck, people that go to jail, a lot of them don't even go to jail. If you from Philly, man, you probably be in North Carolina. One of my family members, he was just in North Carolina, and then they moved him to Texas. Now I think he back upstate in Philly. But you go all over the place, and when you come home, you're like a hero from prison. That's crazy. From college, but definitely from prison or military, stuff. What else? Peace Corps, Job Corps, whatever they calling it now, where you go and get married and get pregnant, or you go make some babies or whatever. You doing some Red Cross work. Basically, what I'm saying is, if you leave your city and then come back, you're like a hero. But most of the people never really get to leave, right? So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because people in this country are so spoiled. We have water fountains, we have everything coming to us. The ice cream man come to everything come to us. The brother was talking about GMO earlier, and it's just like, yeah, they got GMO in those on. You remember them ice cream trucks? You know, the white man coming around there with the little frosty dude on there. You get the Mickey Mouse popsicle. You get the little push-up Johns. You get all these different things. All that stuff, Jim, killing you. But again, I'm bringing this up because there's nothing new under the sun, and these celebratory places, accomplishments turned into feast days. This is our stuff. but they're just making it seem like it's new. Like if you don't know no history, you would really think that America discovered electricity. Doesn't make it make sense. So again, you know, you got to ask yourself, how come the white man and the other nations do not celebrate coming from apes and monkeys to humankind? They still talking about us coming from apes and monkeys, but it's not celebrated. Shouldn't that be celebrated? But yet you celebrate Independence Day. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I'm just bringing this out because this silly holiday called Independence Day is nothing less but a fraud and a lie. Basically, the independence is like a man who can't stand his dad and wants to be his own, have his own life, but first he's stealing from his old man. But that's what the Americans did to Britain. I mean, let's be real. You know what I'm saying? And oh yeah, sidebar, shouts out to Israel, you know, the fake Hebrews. Let's keep letting them bomb everybody so we can get up out of here. And let's keep hoping the Most High keep hardening Benjamin's heart, you know, so we can get up out of here. So let them keep bombing Iran. And America has to go ahead and you see the frustration in Trump. He don't know what to do. You know, he's like, man, what this guy's doing. So yeah, let's keep hardening and then tie in with however you say his name, keep hardening his heart. But anyway, back to the point. So again, reason why I read that scripture, so you guys to know we have an independence. And then secondly, to let you understand, because some people in here may be Christians who trying to come into this truth and stuff like that, or who just may just be on the call or whatever to Zoom, we are being propagandized, we're being brainwashed to believe. You're gonna be like, what? Yes. You know, spoil alert, we was out there celebrating that in the 1800s. So I've eaten those words. I didn't think we was out there doing that. I'm gonna be real. But there's pictures to it. So anyway, my first video, I'm gonna show you guys two videos, okay? First video is gonna be, you know, most of them are cartoon about this Independence Day. So some of you may not even know, and definitely coming from Philadelphia, they teaches this stuff. This is like drinking water this holiday. They just rammed it in his paws, no diddy. They just pushed it on us. You know, I think we got to go to the White House and to the Lincoln thing and all this other stuff. If you live in certain places and up north, they bring you down to learn about the Declaration and independence and all this other stuff, you know, House of Burgesses, all that stuff. Okay. So I'm gonna play these videos so we can have an understanding of what the Independence Day is. Okay, I'm not gonna go too much into the history. It's a very dreadful history. And that Revolutionary War, guys, whew, that was something else. So I don't want to beat it too much, but we're just gonna, you know, play a few videos. Anybody have any questions, anything you want to add, just go ahead and add to it. So Salakia, let me play the first video. Where you at? Actually, it's three. This one is pretty short. Forgot about this one. So I'm gonna play this one first, okay? This one's pretty short. And I'm gonna elaborate on it why I played it.
The American Revolution wasn't as universally supported as you might think. Let's uncover the truth. During the American Revolution, only about 1/3 of colonists supported independence from Britain. That's right, just 1 in 3. Another third of the population, they were loyal to the British Crown and they weren't shy about it. Think about it. Neighbours, friends, even families were often split down the middle, and the rest, they were largely indifferent or neutral. Can you imagine trying to rally a revolution with so many undecided or opposing voices? This division made the struggle for independence even more dramatic and intense. It wasn't just a battle against British forces, but also a conflict within the American society itself. So, next time you think about the revolution, remember it wasn't a unanimous fight for freedom. It was a complex and divided struggle. Fascinating, right? History is never as simple as it seems.
So the reason why I brought that out, because I want you to understand how slick this devil is. He's talking about it was complex, and if it was complex, bro, y'all still be fighting. Like the British is fighting the Irish, and this is how you know everything is biblical over here. How we were supposed to be in here, and all of us brought into this into our captivity. Most of these white nations, quiet as kept, they're still beefing. And it was a lot of different nations here, guys. Remember, the Spaniards were here, the Swedes were here, the Germans were here, the French was here, the Finland was here. I said the French, right? The the Germans were here, the English were here, some Russians were here. Everybody was here, and they're all white people, and they all try to act like they're not the same, but they ironed out their differences and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So it was not complex, but that's just I brought that out to show you how they continuously brainwashing. So if you didn't have no education, no understanding of history, you'd be like, oh man, the white man, he did that. He's right. It was complex. It was like 10 of them here. Stop playing. It was millions of natives. When I show you guys the map, you're gonna be like, man, where's all this? The 13 colonies? United States is big. Everybody keep thinking like Germany. Germany, you can fit 3 Germanys in the state of, you can fit 3 Germanys in the state of Texas. We gotta stop being, we have to research. That map that they gave us, man, I should have brought that out. But that map they gave us, come on. There's no way Africa is the same size as Europe. You know what I'm saying? They just make you believe this stuff, guys. Europe is small as I don't know what. Okay, just FYI. You can literally drive around there within like probably 6 hours. I can go from one side of Europe to the next, like probably 6 hours. Everything's close. Anyway, so let me bring out this next video. So this next video is going to give a little bit of history of what happened. I'm going to play 2 minutes and 25 seconds of it, okay? So here we go. Salakia. So again, I just wanted to bring that first video out to let you guys know when they do these little social media inserts, they do all this stuff. A lot of times they're it's all about manipulation. All right, here we go. Salakia.
Here, sort of. The culture that led to the founding of the United States had been building for centuries, since the first British settlement arrived on the shores. What started out as tiny groups of struggling...
See all that right there? That's what I'm saying. All that brown stuff? That's the gap. It's a car. That's all of them. So this is all they had was that.
Settlers had developed into 13 thriving colonies. Thriving, angry colonies who were tired of being taxed by the British crown. The king wasn't hearing their cries for reform, so there was only one thing left to do: declare independence. And on the 4th of July, 1776, that's exactly what they did. Of course, the British weren't taking that lightly. The first shots had already been fired in 1775, but now the colonies were officially in rebellion. They would be up against the full might of the British Empire. The Americans were outgunned, outarmed, and had little hope of winning. Unless you ask General George Washington and his troops, who kept the colonists in the fight far longer than expected, long enough to take us to the next decade, 1780s. Once it became clear that the American troops were holding on longer than expected.
There are quesadillas, and then there's Zaxby's giant chicken finger quesadillas, packed with their famous chicken fingers.
People started to pay attention to the conflict. The French, longtime rivals of the British, were particularly intrigued, and some even joined the Continental Army. The war dragged on, but the surprising victory of the Americans at the Battle of Yorktown set the stage for an American victory. By September of 1783, the British were ready to be rid of this troublesome colony, and a treaty was signed. The United States of America officially became its own country. Now they just had to run it. The first attempt at a system of government, the Articles of Confederation, was a mess. It largely treated the 13 colonies like 13 separate entities with only a loose government to unite them. It took effect in 1781, but a series of rebellions and conflicts over taxes made it clear that it wouldn't hold. It was decided to hold a constitutional convention, and every major thinker and figure united to hash out the details. It wasn't easy, and the desire of Southern states to preserve slavery nearly derailed the whole convention. But at the end, it was approved, and the next step was to pick the first president of the United States. It was no surprise when the war hero George Washington won the election unopposed. But Washington would not have an easy time in office. 1790s. Washington was determined to lead as a nonpartisan president, opposing the existence of political parties. But history had other plans. His close ally, Alexander Hamilton, shared his Federalist leanings, but often endorsed the use of tougher sanctions, such as when Washington had to put down a rebellion by Western settlers against taxes on liquor. Hamilton
Khan. Yeah, Shalakia. So
initially advocated for insurrection.
Let me see my picture back up here. All right, so when it said that you know, George Washington was going to be, you know, nonpartisan. So if you look up the definition of nonpartisan, it means especially free from party affiliation, bias, designation or designation. Basically, you're not a part of nothing. All right. Sides or any political party. So not biased or partisan, especially toward any particular political group. So, but he owned slaves. I'm just saying, he owned slaves. And remember, the hardest part in here was what? They said it almost stopped when they started talking to the South about slavery. I wonder why that is. A lot of people understand that that was big business. You think that the North wasn't taxing the South for slaves, like how they taxed the West Coast? I just left California. Gas is like $5.20 in certain areas. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. Anyway, California is so stupid. Like a bag of chips, like everything's expensive, right? So you think this white man wasn't taxing the other white, and as you saw in the video, it's talking about taxing and stuff like they wasn't with that. They're like, hold up, what about these? You know, we got these other people here and all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? So and then another thing they didn't talk about when they said George Washington held the line, even though he didn't have enough people. Notice they ain't put none of the black troops on there. We was in here fighting like crazy, you know, because by that time, you know, that was about 100 years we was here being slaves. So we pretty much a part of this country, you know. And I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but let me play the next video real quick, okay? Yeah, I'll break that down a little bit better for you. Now this one is going to be, it's going to be like 3 minutes. So I'll give you guys a little history. Just in case somebody in here don't really understand where it comes from and stuff like that. So I'm not trying to assault anybody's intelligence. Give me a second. Let me share it. Okay, here we go.
Greetings, I'm Walt Gray of the Continental Army and ABC 10's Morning Blend to explain the American Revolution in under 3 minutes. God willing. Start the clock. Here we go. Before the American Revolution, there were 13 British colonies settled between 1607 and 1732. Like British colonies around the world, they were governed and taxed by Parliament in London. The revolution grew out of the end of the 7 Years' War, also called the French-Indian War, when the British fought the French over control of North America, ending with British booting the French out of most of the continent. After that explosive war, Parliament thought the colony should pay for their own defense and thus started issuing various taxes on the colonies like the Sugar Act, the Stamp Act, and later the Townshend Act. This upset the colonies, so they boycotted English goods and began smuggling instead. In a famous act of rebellion, some rebels boarded a British ship and threw all of its cargo overboard, this becoming known as the Boston Tea Party. Now, tensions were already high due to a violent confrontation between British troops in Boston that ended with the British firing into a crowd, killing 5 people in 17.
Remember, we were still slaves.
75, Boston was declared in open rebellion and Parliament ordered troops to begin to disarm the Bostonians, which resulted in the first battle of the Revolutionary War, Lexington and Concord, known as the shot heard round the world. Still at this point, the colonies tried to sue for peace and reconciliation with the motherland. It wasn't until a year later in 1776, as you know, when the Declaration of Independence was written and signed. Now, the odds were not in the colonists' favor, as the British were the most powerful nation on the planet, and a well-armed and well-trained army of British regulars and German mercenaries, while the colonists were usually unorganized and undisciplined and barely armed. Not to mention, they had virtually no navy at all. The Americans did have brilliant military leaders such as George Washington and Nathaniel Greene of Rhode Island, as well as a very strong home field advantage. There were many times during the 8-year war where we were on the verge of complete defeat, but due to Washington's resourcefulness plus some luck, we continued to fight on. Though it wasn't until the French agreed to help near the end of the war when victory became inevitable, because that's what the French do, they jump in late, with the siege of British troops at Yorktown. The states had earned their independence, and for the next 4 years, they continued to operate under the Articles of Confederation until they realized they needed a stronger central government. The Constitutional Convention took place in Philadelphia, where through lots of argument and hard-fought compromise, they arrived at a final constitution 11 years after the Declaration of Independence. The U.S. would go over to fight another war for independence with Britain in 1812. But hey, that's a much different video for a different time. Happy Independence Day from Baby.
All right. So that sums it up in a nutshell. All right. So, like I said, I played this, so you can see the only, like I said earlier, the only hesitation was slavery. And we all know money talks and, BS walks. So, once they made out the deal and that then they started taxing everything and liquor, you don't think the slave owners wasn't taxed? You know what I'm saying? You don't think that these slave owners, and what I mean by slave owners, these guys that's on the plantations, those were like closet CEOs and stuff like that. You had, the Jewish man, we all know, funded these ships and stuff like that, right? So there was like no known Jew with that the broad cups on their head, a little beard and Zeeks. They wasn't running around the South, so they mostly made their money off the cargo, and they was more than likely, which I gotta prove it. This is just my allegedness, that they own a lot of this land. They owned a lot of these plantations and stuff like that, and put people on there to run them, just like a factory. I mean, come on. The white man's the devil that the Bible speak of. Jewish people, so-called Jewish people, they try to stay away from owning us so bad. They never want to equate owning any black slaves. Why would they? I mean, think about it, guys. They oh, my bad, I forgot to turn my camera on. Shalakia. And I turn the camera off because it takes the bandwidth when I'm playing the video. So it becomes, spotchy and, robotic and stuff like that. But anyway, just for some of y'all to understand, they own these lands, and the people that was on the land, those are just managers. You know what I'm saying? Think about it. Do you honestly think a person who owns all these slaves would actually try to do some of these atrocities in front of the other people. No, they will bring them to a place, to a secret location, to a house or something. You know what I'm saying? So to understand the white Jew-ish man, he's very sneaky, he's very conniving. And what he does, he's trying to be in the closet because they didn't have no Holocaust yet. Now, after the Holocaust, they're getting kind of sloppy, you know what I'm saying, with their stuff. Now you got Ted Cruz, I think his name Ted Cruz. He up there saying we should fight for the nation of Israel because they're the biblical Jews of the Bible. And Tucker and Candace Owens is eating that dude up. He's one of the senators, Ted Cruz, and he was saying that we should anyway. So I don't want to get off the subject, but again, I played those videos so everybody can understand where the history come from, and it was complex about who's going to get paid. That was it. It was just all about money. Who's going to get paid? Okay, so let me get to understand, because our people sometimes keep thinking that these people are our friends. So let me get Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 49 through 51. Baba Kusha.
You said 48 or 28?
Deuteronomy 28, verses 49 through 51.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, starting at verses 49 when you have it say, Con.
Done.
Con, I'll pray you. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor shew favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle, and the fruit of thy land, until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kin, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee.
Con. And what did the so-called white man do, guys? He came over here with all these different nations. Listen, they are one people. They all look alike. Okay? They are one people. There's no such thing in the Bible as a Frenchman, a Spanishman. It's Esau, Idumea. Okay? Let's not get this twisted. All right. They don't have 12 tribes. They come from Esau. All right. And they came over here and they put our northern kingdom brothers and suffrage. If you go to some of these, I think it's right near Mount Rushmore, this Indian reservation, they don't even come out of the alcohol place and make it to their car. They're drunk, rolling around in the parking lot. We all got done dirty. Let's just bring that out. But man, I tell you, stuff they did to them natives is crazy. All right. And they pretty much gave them smallpox. They was throwing what is it, rugs and blankets over the wall so they can catch smallpox if they was dirty. I mean, where you think roaches come from? The roaches, they have German roaches. They come from these people. Esau, he's such a dirty dude. Who would say they come from who would actually say you come from an ape or a monkey? That don't even make sense. That's the most ignorant thing to say. I'm from an ape or a monkey. And you got people around here saying that. So, they don't really know much. And so this scripture right here lets you know that this is them people. They show no regard for the young. You saw the lady, Daphne, the chick from Louisiana I talked about a few weeks ago. She was the first serial killer. She had one of our people so deformed that they walked like a crab. She was killing babies. Then you had doctors who was just cutting the top of our heads, giving us brain surgery while we're alive. This is the stuff they were doing to us, guys. Putting the brown paper bag over our head, making us have sex with family members. You know, these are sick people, you know, and they're still doing it to this day. That's why they made that movie Eyes Wide Shut. And you ask yourself, man, what this got to do with this? Has a lot to do with Independence Day. You got some of your sickest minds all together to come up and curate this country called America. You know what I'm saying? This is a cesspool full of just disease, crazy folks who's running us and filling us with GMO and you know, just all sorts of lies and everything. You know, you have, you know, 4th of July. So again, you know, they did try to wipe out all the bison, you know, pretty much. You know, they ruined the lands. I mean, what you think they're doing in Kansas and Oklahoma? It's called fracking, right? There's people that turn on their water and all of a sudden a big fireball come out of there because the fracking, they're drilling to get those oils and that's messing up stuff in the ground, you know? So again, I use this scripture because, you know, unlike Christianity and all other man-made religions and belief systems, our Father said, this will happen. So please do not be surprised, you know, about, you know, the scripture, but we lost our way. And now we are slowly gathering up the sheep that the Most High wants us to gather and continue to endure to the end. This also lets you know why they kept us away from the Bible. Okay, with that scripture, that should let you know this is why they kept us away from the Bible. Because around about the late 1600s, I personally think it would start out from the Northern Kingdom brothers and sisters. But remember, in the late 1600s, they forbidden any slave to read and write, right? You know, it was various reasons why they did this, right? So when you look it up and everything, it talks about it, Salakia. So it says, you know, reading could lead to forbidden religious ideas, while most slave owners were not concerned with the spiritual well-being of their slaves. They did fear slaves assessing religious messages of equality or autonomy. Literacy enabled slaves to read the Bible themselves, interpret messages of love, justice, and liberation, preach equality among men before God. Why is that? Because this is our book. Remember, the Northern Kingdom went into slavery in 1492. So we can give them a few years. So the early 1500 and on, the Northern Kingdom was in slavery. So they say that we came over here in 16 I think it was 1619 or 1617. I think it's 1619. So the first African American slave allegedly came over here in 1619, right? So with that being said, they already knew what to do because the Northern Kingdom. But think about it. Things were changing. They were printing books and all this other stuff, right? So they was like, nah, we can't let them read it. So again, if one of our brothers and sisters, like Nat Turner did, he read this, he's like, hold up, this is us. They would have had more Nat Turners. So they tried to keep us down, and the Most High only gave him 430 years. That's in the book of Ezekiel, okay? So we only was supposed to be in hard captivity for 430 years, right? So with that being said, once that was up, they couldn't do nothing with this. So then what they do, they had the KKK, then Jim Crow, then all this other stuff that happened, right? Trying to keep that circle. But during slavery, they was already implementing us to celebrate these holidays, these Independence Day and stuff like that. So don't think we wasn't celebrating Independence Day, all right? So I'm gonna show you. This is just like a kind of a sidebar video. This is about, you know, the slave Bible. All right. So let me bring this out real quick because I mean, the Independence Day, you know, it's short and simple. You know, 1774, 1775, we got it. But again, we were still in. They had to figure out what they're gonna do with us, and we weren't the only ones in slavery. Okay, the natives were in slavery, or the Northern Kingdom was in slavery, but they never wanted. They never want to talk about them. Okay, so let me bring something out real quick. Salakia. Let's see.
My name is Anthony Schmidt, and I am Senior Curator at the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C. We are in our newest exhibit, or one of our newest exhibits, titled The Slave Bible, Let the Story Be Told. The formal name is Parts of the Holy Bible Selected for Use Among the Negro Slaves in the British West India Islands. And it was published in 1807 in London by the London-based firm Law and Gilbert. Well, we think it was most likely produced by a missionary organization named the Society for the Conversion of Negro Slaves. And this was one of many missionary societies that popped up around 1800, dedicated to spreading Christianity around the globe, but mostly within the British colonies in Africa, Asia, and of course the Caribbean. And so this book was produced by the society for use by their missionaries who were going to islands such as Jamaica and Barbados to establish schools and churches, and with the intention of converting enslaved Africans and educating them. And so this book was part of a broader program that they believed would improve the lives of enslaved Africans, both materially and spiritually.
So again, somebody tuning in like, dude, what are you talking about, man? You supposed to be talking about Independence Day. Man, look, we know about Independence Day. We know everything about it. But during this Independence Day, they were fighting. That whole thing was, man, it was about money. You think that the kings and queens over there, they didn't want a part of that slavery money? You think they ain't want a part of that? So if I'm going to go ahead, it's bigger than what you think, even though it's prophecy. But think about how greedy the white man is. He's like, man, we're making all this money. Man, why are we sending that back to the king? Man, we can get this for real. Yeah, man, we can do it like this. So they had to come up with a scheme and maneuver on how to go ahead and break away from the Brits. Because everybody was loving the Brits. Everybody's living lavishly. They were spreading the money around. You know what I'm saying? So remember, slavery started like 1490 something. Now, that was the Spaniards. That is true. But there was a lot of different Spanish American wars, a lot of different wars going on. Whoever win those wars get those spoils. So Independence Day, I'm trying to link it into so you guys can understand it. So Independence Day, it was important, but it was like to me, that was almost like the meeting them to see and stuff. You know how the Bible was canonized? They did all this stuff because they wanted certain white people to be a part of this, and then they figured it out and they got us to help them, the brother James Amstead and stuff like that. So it was, they was conspiring, that's Psalms, right? So basically it was all well planned out. Don't think it was an accident and that white people were complex. No, that is not what Independence Day about. They pulled a Willie Lump. They pulled a Kansas City Shuffle. They stole from the Brits. Now, for what I'm understanding, the IRS was created for the British so they can get their money, because they was like, nah, y'all ain't playing us, because technically it's like, how did they even lose? If you think about the British Army, like real talk, how did they lose? There's no way they should have beat them. You got God's chosen people here. You think the Northern Kingdom didn't help? Gad and Reuben didn't help? They all over the place. Remember, it's 13 colonies. So who you think helped? Yeah, we're foolish. So we all help. They will never share that history. They give us a few gems. That's stuff that we got to pick and choose. But who's some of the greatest fighters in wartime? Israel. Like I told you, when I was taking certain classes in the military, they said one of the greatest commanders was Moses. They learned about him in war school. They put him one of the greatest commanders, and they say, man, he has some scouts. Hold on, let me get Clubhouse back on. Okay, Shalakia. So they deem him as one of the greatest commanders. And his scouts were putting fires in certain places, and they were doing things, doing Houdini type stuff. to, you know, disrupt the Egyptians from finding us and stuff like that. So he has some really good scouts. So again, that Bible is their playbook, you know, and then they use that playbook because these things happen to us in the Bible. So what they're doing is they're reenacting it, but it's all white people. Pretty smart, you know, because everybody thought the barbarians was white. Oh man, them barbarians, they're white. Everybody think of gypsies white. Oh, them gypsies, those Romanians, Croatians, those are the gypsies. Oh man, them Vikings. These are all brothers. The white man did not know how to land nav in the sea. We are the inventors of the nautical compass. We invented that. It's facts. Heck, we invented ice hockey. So again, Independence Day, this is 4th of July. What is the independence from? It's independence from their daddy, the Brits. That's what I consider it, you know, and then still, you know how Pop is. Pop gonna get his lick back. It's like, yo, son, I'm gonna need you to run them pockets. All right. You lived off of me for all this time. I need you to run them pockets. And this is what we get the IRS for. So again, you know, Independence Day is a cover-up of a bunch of white people who was just upset with one another. And that's all it is. You know, it's really nothing, you know, tough to really express. But I wanted to bring out that slave Bible because you know, that's very, very important. Like it said, what did it say? They had complexity when it came to talk about slavery. What's so complex about it? Them white people down south. They all had their hand in the bag. George Washington was a northern white dude, but he had his wife. This is what they say. His wife had 77 slaves, and he had like, I don't know, like 22. Stop the cap. When I'm researching, she had hundreds of slaves. He had about 100. You know what I'm saying? So, and she was married, you know, Ona, whatever her name was. She was married before George Washington. She had 3 kids from her ex. So, you know, her baby daddy died. You know what I'm saying? And then she married him, and then all her kids died because George was a piece of crap. He was a killer, you know, nonpartisan first president. And, you know, that was by design. So I wanted to bring out the slave Bible to get everybody to understand, like, listen, I don't want to beat it down, but, you know, it was all about controlling children of Israel. This was all this was about, and keeping us asleep. And it worked for a long time because some of us still asleep. Okay. So let me get the next one. Salakia. So let me get I want to bring out reason why, like I said, I'm bringing this out because they're literally doing the same thing today. You know, social media, uh um the news, all this stuff is going on with Diddy. You know, like Dr. Umar, you know, Dr. Umar's, you know, and I said this before too. They always get powerful black men during the times of when something's coming out. So in 2019, what was going on was the whole R. Kelly thing, but what was really going on was the whole popes. All right, so the popes were the Catholic Church opened it up that anybody who was molested or touched, whatever, can come forward. Like almost 5,000 people, 4,000 people, you know, was like, yeah, they started coming forward. So what they had to do, they had to go out and get R. Kelly. And that's what happened. Because you know, they had Surviving R. Kelly 1 and 2. Then come to find out they that was all lies, but they used this man. Yes, I'm an R. Kelly fan, but I'm not defending the brother, but I'm just saying they always going to use our brothers and sisters, especially our brothers, as bait to lure you away from stuff. You know what I'm saying? Now we fighting with Iran. What's going on? This Diddy thing is all over the place. You know what I'm saying? But this Iran war is going on. The war in Ukraine. There's so many distractions. I'm like, if I was a black entertainer, man, I'd be like, man, I'm out of here. You know, that whole Chris Rock thing and Will Smith. You know, I don't know if that was a real thing or not, but it just seems to be whenever there's some crazy going on, they always want to use one of our brothers and sisters to, to get them out. So let me get and I'm bringing this out because, this is nothing new under the sun. The slave Bible, us wanting to go ahead and do things with the other nations and hang out with them and stuff. Even during Independence Day, we're slaves. And they say, well, look, if you fight, we're going to free you. Like, what? Bro, you believe that? That don't even make sense. They still got everything set up for slaves. And you think, but then again, these brothers couldn't read or write. So let me get the book of Judges, chapter 10, verses 6 through 8. Baba Kusha.
This is the book of Judges, chapter 10, starting at verse 6. When you have it, say, Con.
Done.
And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord and served Baalim and Ashtoreth and the gods of Syria and the gods of Zidon and the gods of Moab and the gods of the children of Ammon and the gods of the Philistines, and forsook the Lord and served not him.
Con, Salakia. And yeah, Salakia. I'm gonna touch on this scripture real quick. You see all these people? We got the Chinese, man. We love Chinese food. That orange chicken, that General Toso. So I went to this one place, it was called Hawaiian something. Because I like Hawaiian food, And I went in there and wasn't nothing in there but Asian people. But I didn't think, I was like, well, maybe they got them in the back cooking. So I ain't even look at the food. So I get home, man. I threw all that in the trash. It looked like rat meat. And I swear to God that it was rat. I tell you, I had to taste it because it was supposed to be teriyaki chicken. It was teriyaki chicken with no teriyaki. Make that make sense, And then the other one was black pepper. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, it just looked like a rat. I ain't gonna lie. I threw it. I was like, man, I can't eat this. So I threw it out. But again, yeah, I love Chinese food, before I came to the truth. You can't trust them. And so even though it's talking about the gods of Moab, it's talking about, their fortune cookies, their what else? Their zodiac sign. I used to be big in the year of the dragon and the cat and the rat and the bat. I was big into all that stuff. Children of Ammon, you're talking about the Japanese. We love these hibachis. Now I ain't gonna say stop eating hibachi. I eat hibachi. It look real. I guess it looks real. The one I go to. Then the gods of the Philistines. We all talking about this Kemet, and we Egyptian, and we're this and we're that. You know what I'm saying? So we're still under this stuff till this day, because every time we get into the captivity of these other nations, we tend to keep bringing it with us. That's why I wish my brother Tariq and Dr. Umar, they just break away from that stuff, man. But I guess it ain't meant for them. Go ahead, continue, brother. Verse 7.
Verse 7. And the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he sold them into the hands of the Philistines and to the hands of the children of Ammon.
Shalakia. You heard what he said? He said, and the anger of the Lord was hot. We still use that. You know what I'm saying? So don't tell me, our father is not Israel. Don't tell me he's not, we're not made in his likeness and image, man. There's no way. And the anger of the Lord was hot. You know what I'm saying? That's us right there. We still use that till this day. All right, Salakia, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's real, though. And that year, they vexed and oppressed the children of Israel 18 years, all the children of Israel that were on the other side, Jordan, in the land of the Amorites, which is in Gilead.
Con. So I brought those scriptures out to let you guys know that there's nothing new under the sun, man. He's been punishing us because he will get you. When you at your 4th of July, you lighting them jumping jacks, them hammerheads, them M80s, them cherry bombs you throw in the toilet. all those handmaker, all those different things, right? You know, he will get you, you know, for celebrating their little stupid days because we need to be about his holiday. They done took our holidays, and the next scripture is gonna blow your mind. We're so wicked with it. We know what we're doing, but it's like, man, I'm going to the strip club. Yeah, I'm gonna go to the strip club. I'm gonna throw some dollars. You know them women ain't right. That's up in them strip clubs. Something wrong with them. You know, when I was in the world, I went to a few, especially when I joined the army. I never got down with the strip club thing. And then, you know, you do your research and your history, you come to find out we get that from the Canaanites. You know, that was a ritual they did, dancing around a stick. You know what I'm saying? And they would sleep with an old man. I think they would dance around this pole. It was some god, and they would lay with this. I mean, it was just the most craziest thing ever. I mean, we all saw the stripper in Florida. It was viral. She was up way high in one of them clubs, and she fell to the ground. All her teeth came out her mouth, and she still started stripping. I mean, she hit the joint, bam, and she bounced up. She was so high and so engulfed in wickedness, she started policing up her teeth and still was in there, mouth full of blood, because she in there for them dollars. Then she did a GoFundMe to get her teeth fixed. Man, I tell you, boy, our people. So again, I'm bringing this out because we are going to brothers are still going to listen to this class, and regardless of what Brother Hashar says, they still going to get them pork ribs. They're going to go ahead and put the little spices on them. You know, they're going to smoke them tonight. Then they're going to pull out the grill and go and buy a matching 4th of July outfit for the family and celebrate this wicked, stupid holiday. And then you need to ask yourself, what was my ancestors doing during this time? Were we celebrating this? Were we celebrating 4th of July? Hey, can you pull up the GNT with the Apocrypha? You let me know when you pull that up. GNT with the Apocrypha.
GNT is in the Apocrypha.
Yeah, the GNT Bible. So it's a GNT, Good News Translation. So the GNT with the Apocrypha, you can go in like onto your web browser. And
Google?
Yeah, you can go on Google.
Okay.
And then when you get it, get 2nd Maccabees chapter 4. I'm gonna say some stuff. I'm gonna show a picture real quick, okay? So 2nd Maccabees chapter 4 in the GNT with Apocrypha. All right, so let me show y'all this picture. This is crazy. I was like, man. So they always ask the question, what were we doing during the Independence Day, right? This is what we was doing. After the Civil War, white Southerners saw 4th of July as a celebration and Confederate defeat. Now this is around 1874. I mean, to me, still slavery. I mean, it's 1874. I mean, we don't really say it stopped to like the till about the 40s. You know, that's when most people say the actual hard labor, because you know they were still sneaking in and stuff like that. This is us. Now, mind you, slavery ended 1865. So this is 9 years after slavery. Well, when it was abolished in America. Well, I guess Texas, eight years. So 4th of July, as they call it, picnic, possibly in South Carolina, but wherever it's at. Look at all these black folks dressed up. You know what I'm saying? Now, I just wanted to bring this out because, listen, I served in the military. I think most people know that. I consider myself pretty patriotic. I used to cry when the flag went up. I used to kill for my country, all this stuff. If you didn't salute the flag, I was probably beating you up. If I didn't think you was American enough, I hated you. You know, I was pretty gone. I was brainwashed. You know, I mean, that's all I had was the United States military. You know, and I loved it. You know, I was like, oh, they give me money, they give me food, can take care of my family, give me medical, but I go risk my life. You know, I still got a piece of me over there in Iraq. I ain't gonna go into what's left over there. I still got a piece of me over there in Iraq. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so I say that to say I understand certain people's struggles, but ain't no way. I can't say it, but I gotta say it. Ain't no way I would have fought in that Revolutionary War, and then they still would have put my black butt into slavery. Man, boy, I'm mad now thinking about it. There's no way I could fight, and they'd be like, "Hey, dog, look, you gonna have to start picking that cotton again, bro." What? Well, what are you talking about? Start picking the cotton. Look, you did some glamorous thing, and look, we're gonna give you your Purple Heart, but we really can't give it to you right now because everybody gonna trip. Oh man, they coming. Look, man, you did. We can't give you this medal. Look, we'll write you later, about 300 years later, bro. Just get out of here because here they come. Like what, dude? There's no. To me, that war had to be the awakening for us. But you know, again, we were asleep, we wasn't reading. They poured all this GMO. When I mean by GMO, all this BS on us. And so these guys were so brainwashed that, oh man, we're gonna get freed. And when they didn't, you would figure it would have been like a revolution with us. We were trained, we had guns, this and this. And I'm sure there was some conflict when some of the brothers, you know, couldn't fight and stuff. But man, I can feel that burning in Jake's stomach. That man, you know, y'all did this to me. So again, I can understand, you know, so don't get mad at the picture, brothers and sisters, is the point. You know, our brothers, they were gone, you know, they were tired, you know, they done lost so many people in this war and stuff like that. So when I saw the picture, I ain't gonna lie, I got mad. But I have to realize what they went through back then. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of the same thing we going through, except it's more clean, you know. Back then, and to me, it was dirty, but now it's more clean. Here you go. This and this. We're gonna give you a $20,000 bonus to become this, and we're gonna do this and come fight these wars. And then you come home with your uniform. You know, you don't get the awards you deserve. They still not giving black women, black men, all this other stuff. So we fought in this war. That man James Armstead, he won the war for the Americans. Nobody know who this brother is. You know what I'm saying? Some of us honor him because we know history. But if you don't know history, that man deserves a Medal of Honor. I don't care if it was that long ago. I don't believe they gave him the medal. I got to look more into it. I don't think they ever gave it to him. His family's still around. You know what I'm saying? When I got stationed in Fort Hood in 1997. And my first year there, they gave this white guy a Medal of Honor because, you know, and his parents, this thing about white people, they just keep writing, keep writing. And he saved a bunch of his you know, his platoon guys, a bunch of his squad, and they gave him the Medal of Honor. And they named the Chow Hall after him. You know, then they gave a couple black people while I was in, you know, Medal of Honors. I got to meet some Medal of Honors recipients and stuff like that. But you know, whoever that guy's family is, James Armstead, they should write, you know, because he deserved the Medal of Honor. He was a spy for crying out loud. So, um, you know, I just wanted to bring that out, show y'all that picture. Do you have that scripture?
You said Second Maccabees.
Chapter 4.
Uh-huh.
Let's start at verse 7, going all the way down to 14.
This is the book of Second Maccabees, chapter 4, starting at verse 7. You said all the way to 19?
14, 14.
14, come.
Oh, is it in the G&T?
Yeah, I found it in the GT on Google.
Okay, Con.
All praise. Later, when King Seleucus, Sel- Seleucus,
Yeah.
Lucas, Salakia, died, and Antiochus, known as Epiphanes, became king. Jason, the brother of Onias, became high priest by corrupt means. He went to see the king and offered him 27,000 pounds of silver and 6,000 more pounds to be paid later. Jason also offered him an additional 11,250 pounds of silver for the authority to establish a stadium where young men could train and to enroll the people of Jerusalem as citizens of Antioch.
Salakia. And this is, remember, this is during, the Greek captivity. All right. After Alexander the Greek or Alexander the Freak died, he broke the kingdom up into 4 kings. And Antiochus, this guy was a beast. Salakia, go ahead, King.
The king gave his approval, and just as soon as Jason took over the office of high priest, he made the people of Jerusalem change the Greek way of life.
Salakia. And like he said in verse 8, Salakia, in verse 9, when he established a stadium, okay, where young men could train. That's talking about the gymnasiums, guys. All right, that means working out naked. So they was up here. This is a high priest.
That's some bullshit.
They up there working out with kids and stuff. This is why when you go to the gym today, you pretty much see all these women up in here, Lord in Christ, and some of these men too, but mostly the women. Continue, King. Verse 11.
He began by abolishing the favors that John had secured for the Jews from previous Syrian kings. John was the father of the Epolemus, Salakia, who later went to Rome to make an alliance and to establish ties of friendship. Jason also did away with our Jewish customs.
Salakia, say that again.
Jason also did away with our Jewish customs and introduced new customs that were contrary to our law. With great enthusiasm, he built a stadium near the Temple Hill and led our finest young men to adopt the Greek custom of practicing in athletic events. Because of the unrivaled wickedness of Jason, that ungodly and illegitimate high priest, the craze for the Greek way of life and for foreign customs reached such a point that even the priests lost all interest in their sacred duties. They lost interest in the temple services and neglected the sacrifices. Just as soon as the signal was given, they would rush off to take part in the games that were forbidden by our law.
God. So I say that to say that this Independence Day is it's wicked, and it's like it's a big holiday, especially to Jake. It's a pretty big holiday. I remember, we're in we all remember that. So I'm not gonna go all into it, but Israel's always doing the most. I'm not rebuking, I'm just saying enough is enough. We have to stop participating in these silly days that have no substance. I mean, just imagine, this is why we're all doing this whole pledging. That Greek way of life is still here to this day. You got niggas in bars, Salakia. You got black men in bars stepping. I don't know. I just can't stand steppers. I'm sorry. Every time they went to the club, we always fought them. I don't know. I just didn't. I don't know. I couldn't stand those dudes. I don't know. Maybe because I was in the army, but like they come in the bars and all that stuff, and they got their little jackets on, and they start stepping. We just start fighting them because they're so annoying. You know what I'm saying? Nobody want to hear all that. Maybe trying to get some girls, bro. Now this when I was in the world. So, You know, it was, and then it's just stupid. They always doing, I don't even know you can call it borderline gay. They always doing gay stuff, you know? So I just really don't understand why we keep participating in this Greek stuff. But look at back and during the time we was in the Greek captivity, you know, and we loved it. The priests were so ready to go to the games, they forgot about their duties. Most High ain't going for that. All right. So we got to get away from these holidays with no substance. It seems to me we're always anxious to follow and never wanting to lead. And the way we got to break away and by talking to your family, you know, the way to break away is continue, you know, to talk to the family. Now, sidebar, because most of us spoke to our family at least twice, don't be that guy on 4th of July telling everyone how they're doomed and, you know, all this stuff. All right. Don't go to the 4th of July party. If your wife is a Christian or a Muslim and you an Israelite, brother, pray. All right. You are head of that household. You don't have to be disrespectful to your wife. Because I mean, look at Obama's wife. She ain't go to the inauguration. You know what I'm saying? So you can throw that one in there. Maybe that'll help you. But like, you know, we all can respect other people's belief system and understanding. But again, I'm not telling you to leave your wife or divorce your wife, or we'll just say spouse. I'm not saying you divorce your spouse because, you know, they ain't awake. Okay. They will wake up when the Most High deems them ready. Try not to force it. I get it, but have some patience and decorum, you know? So, again, you know, the brothers gonna go up to do their thing every 4th of July, and stuff like that. That's different. But when you're talking about your family and stuff, you have to use patience and decorum, and you got to use wisdom. So again, we gave you the history of this wicked holiday and when it started, okay? And then we talked about the slave Bible and how that helped to keep us asleep, and then on how Israel followed these other nations to the point to where as though it was no longer fun to serve the Most High. It was fun to go and watch the games. Now you see what they said, right? This is crazy. Verse 14, right? Second Maccabees chapter 4, verse 13. That even the priests lost all interest in their sacred duties. They lost interest in the temple services and neglected the sacrifices. What does that sound like, fellas? That sounds like Sunday. My dad did not want to go to church because the football game was coming on. You know what I mean? So he never went to church. So my mom just leave him in there. So eventually, of course, you know, I'm not trying to mix the church with us. But what I'm trying to say is they neglected the temple duties. And as soon as the signal was given, they was gone to go ahead and watch that. You know, I don't know if it was an all right series, but I knew OKC was going to win. But anyway, just to go watch OKC, go watch this WNBA, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, whatever, Angel Reese. You know what I'm saying? As soon as these games were done, they ran off. And that's modern day now. Okay. So again, the point to this class was to give you guys a little information about 4th of July and let you guys understand where it stems from. And everything that it's talking about was, to me, basically surrounding slavery. Because again, we were not the only people in slavery. It wasn't just Black people. Okay. It was our Northern Kingdom brothers as well. Okay. And the brothers in Jamaica and Haiti, all this, well, not Haitian, Salakia, the Jamaicans and stuff like that. And it's one thing they said in the video, brothers and sisters, wherever the Brits were, right? They was passing around that slave Bible. They was passing around that slave Bible. That's why we touched briefly on the slave Bible, because the British people, that's what they was doing, you know, the colonization, right? And they knew they had to do it to us because we were the people of the Bible. So they had to invent some false literature. And that's when they come up with the slave Bible. And again, we couldn't read or anything like that. So when brothers started reading and understanding and stuff, then it was better. And we also know this country, you think R. Kelly was the only illiterate person. There's a lot of brothers and sisters that's illiterate that can't read, that has money and stuff. I mean, Mayweather couldn't read, right? For a minute. I think he learned, but that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So that means if you can't read, you don't have literacy, then you can't comprehend something, certain stuff, right? Does that make it right? So this is what we're trying to preach to you, brothers and sisters. The Independence Day that you know of 4th of July, it's wrong for you to celebrate. It's not about you. It's about your answer. It's about making that money, but it's not about your independence. Because the last time I checked, we didn't vote till 1973. So it's not about your independence. It's about the white man's independence and these other nations who set up stores, the Amorites or Salakia, the Ammonites, which is Japanese, the Moabites, which is Chinese. They setting up all these stores in your neighborhood, right? When did you ever see a Chinese restaurant celebrating Independence Day? Or a Japanese? I've never seen it. Maybe they do. I've never seen it. Honestly, I never seen them celebrating it. They may have specials, 2 cheesesteaks and a 40, but I've never seen them celebrating. And I think a lot of people are from the inner city. Correct me if I'm wrong. When have you seen Chinese restaurants celebrating Independence Day or Japanese? You know what I'm saying? I've never seen it. Or East Indian. That's the people with the red dot. Elam. So again, I don't want to be winded and stuff like that. So hopefully you guys learned something tonight about Independence Day, how it was come about, and all the different rules and stuff that happened, and what's it really for. And basically is the white man fighting white men trying to get over, and he didn't. He negotiated it, but it was on our backsides, and we paid for all of that stuff. Because think about it. We beat the Brits. We didn't go to Britain. So who paid for the reconstruction of America? Not the British. We still was paying them. Just like right now, Nigeria. Let's use Nigeria, for instance. They got their independence, I think, I don't know, 1901, something like that, 08. Right? They got their independence. Maybe a little bit later. But anyway, somebody can fact check me. When they got their independence, they still got to pay Britain a bag. Just because you get your independence don't mean you don't got to pay. Britain is paid. All right? They paid. They paid. When we got next, that's where we're going. That's where all the rich is at. There in the Vatican. You know what I'm saying? They paid because, they set up a currency. They set up a lick back system. So, I can do the research and stuff like that. But trust me, wherever Britain was, even though they gave them people independence, you think they gave Tokyo, was it Hong Kong? They gave Hong Kong independence. You think Hong Kong ain't got to pay Britain? So again, people, this is what we need to understand. They are great manipulators. They talk with a split tongue, and they are not kin of ours. Okay? I ain't say go to work and start doing things to Esau. That's not what we're saying at HOI. That's not what HASHAR is saying at HOI. What we're saying is tolerate them at work, do what you need to do. You come break bread with us, and we celebrate our feast days, and we follow these laws, statutes, and commandments, and we get away. It's easy to get away from that. When have you seen a Moabite that wasn't too Americanized celebrating Independence Day out there? It's normally who? White and black people. I'm not saying that other nations don't, but who's normally celebrating it? Exactly. Us and them. All right. So anybody got any questions or anything? If not, we're going to wrap this up. All right. So again, we have to follow the Most High's law, statutes, and commandments. Let me see. Let me get hey Shakanya, you're gonna do the prayer for me? Let's see, he on here. Hey, Brian on here. Let's see. Give me a second. So again, let me get Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verses 13 through 14, Baba Kusha.
This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, verses 13. When you got it, say con.
Good.
Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil.
Good. So, I mean, self-explanatory, Israel. You just got to go ahead, follow these laws, statutes, and commandments, and do what it is you're supposed to do. All right. Fear the Most High. And he's going to be in every secret place. Go ahead, King.
No, I ain't saying that.
Oh, okay. All right. So again, we're going to have to, continue to follow these laws, statutes, and commandments, and continue to hope for the best that if you have family that's celebrating these holidays and stuff like that, just get away from it. I mean, I know everybody, they lied to the Jehovah's Witnesses coming to the door and stuff like that. You ain't got to lie. Just be like, nah, I'm good. I don't feel good and stuff like that. Or, and me personally, I wouldn't even take no food. Somebody bring me some. That's just me. That's probably a little bit, overzealous with it. I don't know. A lot of people can't eat barbecue, man. It tastes like freaking lighter fluid anyway. So, you know, but I wouldn't just don't even participate, in it. Yes, it's fun. The firecrackers, the what is it? The little whistles and stuff. We used to do all that stuff, man. The candle light, was it candlestick, all that stuff to shoot out all the fires. Yeah, that was all fun and dandy and stuff. But remember, guys, we were slaves and they was doing us dirty, and they were trying to figure out how to continue to keep us asleep. So Independence Day is a trick bag, and they lied to our brothers and sisters. If anything, fine, we were slaves, right? Let's get the slavery out of it. But they told us we were free, and then they put it right back in the field. So if anything, that should tell you like this is not for us. Yeah, we were slaves because some people don't really understand the harshness of slavery. But they told your brothers and sisters, hey, we're going to free y'all. Oh, nah, dude, you got to go back in the field, dude. This war over. Right after the war. Some of these dudes, they have no feet. Some of these dudes had trench foot, one arm, one eye. They ain't have no retirement, no compensation, no nothing. And they'll only get back in the field. Because a lot of the brothers got hurt. So what they do with the hurt brothers that would used to be slaves? I don't know, they became cooks. Anyway, so the white man's is devil that the Bible speaks of. So again, thanks everybody for joining into the class. Rebuke this Independence Day, and we mean rebuke it with the word, not going out there, doing something crazy that's going to get you in trouble and you ain't going to be able to support your family. Okay, brothers and sisters? So let me go ahead and guys face the east. Let's get the Lord's Prayer and Paleo. Give me a second. I had went to go work, and so I didn't have time to practice this. So just bear with me. Bear with me.
I can do it.
Oh, you can do it?
I got it right here.
Okay. You got it in Paleo Hebrew? Okay, con.
Uh,
All right. Water.
uh, Abanawa, Sabasamayim, Kadash, Haya, Samka, Yahweh, Malak Waka, Taba'a, Ratazaka, Haya, Isha, Ba'arataza, Kawa, Haya, Basamayim, Isha, oh no, still like Nathan Lawai, Nathan Lanawa, Lakam, Kal Yawam, Wasalak Nawa, Kawabwaf Yanawa, Kasalak Yanawa, Kawabwaf Yanawa, Tabaya Naya Nawawa, Banasaya one, Abal, Hawashana Nawa, Mayan, Ra, Kaya, Laka, Amalak Waf, Wa'ala, Wa'a Tabarath, Lawa Mayam, Amen.
Man. Con. The water came. All
Hey,
right.
Shalaki King. Listen, when you're doing the prayer, don't be joking. Even if you make a mistake, don't be laughing about it, okay, King? It's a serious thing. And, you know, not everyone is going to be able to pronounce the words correctly, and that's understandable, right? But if you make a mistake, don't laugh about the mistake. Just, you know, continue and try to do better next time. But you did it. Practicing it, right? And and
Elder.
and and you're gonna be sharp like anything else, brother. All praises, right? You can try singing it, right? By learning it that way. A lot of times when you sing stuff, you can remember songs back in the 80s and just like off the top of your head because you sang it and you sang it so many times, it became a part of you. So one of the things you can do to remember the prayer is record yourself saying the prayer, right? And record yourself saying it maybe as a song, right? And those are some of the things that you can do. You don't even have to say like a song, but you can just record yourself and play it over and over. And you're gonna get it so sharp you'll be surprising yourself. Khan,
Con.
Elder.
all praises.
Con. Let's go to Book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 9. You want to do the Lord's Prayer? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. God, thanks for the words of wisdom, Brother Shemaiah. And thank you for doing the Lord's Prayer and Paleo. I got to practice this. I'm getting it down pat. And that's a good idea, the whole singing. I didn't even think of that. And recording myself.
I mean, I can send you if you can send me your number or whatever. I can send you the song that I listen to every morning if you want me to.
Con. I'll send you my number.
Yeah, maybe next class we'll do a practice. Everybody can do a practice um, of the Lord's Prayer,
Con.
before class or something or after class, But I understand, man. Paleo Hebrew, the pronunciations of the words. You know, we grow up, first of all, wicked. And the Most High woke us up, right? Many of us are up there in age, you know. So you will be surprised that young kids who just coming into the truth, they might grab this before you do,
God.
right? We grow up speaking English and saying Jesus, and we now get into saying Yahweh Shai, right?
God.
Our brains, as I say, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks,
God.
right? So the puppies, they're gonna get it quicker than many of us would. But you know, as they say, practice makes perfect.
God.
God,
God. The
all
water.
praises.
All praises.
Hey, good class tonight, King. This 4th of July or 4th of July is, you know, many of our people are really patriotic, like how you described, you know. And even I wanted to bring it out a little bit because you mentioned how patriotic you were and that you were ready to fight somebody who don't want to sing the national anthem, right? People get offended because brother took a knee through the national anthem, right? He was dogged and dragged through the mud because he's like, I'm taking the knee. And when you understand our history, yeah, you got to take a knee because there's so many soldiers who came out to fighting for the black soldiers that got lynched, got killed, got attacked, you know,
God.
still more.
Oh, you coming in kind of broken up.
I apologize. I'm sitting by a fan, so the air might be messing my audio up a little bit. But
Okay.
it's a good class, man. Even like going on right now with ICE grabbing up a lot of these immigrants, right? A lot of people who might be quote unquote patriotic, right? And they show footage of, you know, police cars being destroyed and stuff. People who are quote unquote patriotic, they want to go up in arms. They want to go fight these immigrants because they are not, like you were saying, when you were patriotic, they're not American, right? They're not for this country. So you want to shed some blood to show how patriotic and how much you love America. So there's a lot of levels to this stuff, man. But good information, man. All praises.
God.
Water for the information.
God. You know, my pleasure. You know, and again, especially people who serve in the military, there's really no, sometimes you can't get to them. I remember my brother tried to get to me. My brother was like, man, I'm so glad you out. You couldn't tell me nothing about the military. Even when I was in guys who were kind of awake before I even got out, it's like, bro, you were crazy with this. America is going to fall. I'm like, no, they're not, man. Can't nobody beat us, you know? And there's guys out there that's like that. And if I can wake up, you know, Most High woke me up, you know, all praises by showing my shot, Yahweh Shai, you know, it's not for everybody. So, yeah,
Question, King.
yes,
You woke up after you left,
yes, I did.
and like you were saying, you know, brothers who are in there right now. I mean, the Most High could definitely do anything, but yeah, a lot of brothers who are in there now, it's like impossible to wake them up, man. The Most High really got to do something in them to wake them up while they're in the middle of the sauce. You know, you came out of the pot, and that's when you were able to wake up. You know, you were able to see things with a different lens and have a different understanding. When you're in there and you're saluting and you're feeling that oneness with your brothers you fought, you killed for this nation, it's hard to tell anybody who was in there that, you know, you're fighting for something that, hey, I mean, you can't say nothing negative. That's the point.
Yeah, kind. It's, and you know, I had the privilege of working with, FBI, CIA, DEA, Border Patrol, you know, secret squirrel dudes, all that stuff, and it gets to you like, oh, I want to be like them and all this other stuff. And then, you're thinking about your family, you're thinking about money, you're thinking about deployment. We don't even care about our body. So when it's almost like being a football player or a athlete. They get certain bonuses, certain things they do. Well, you get bonuses in the army, in the military as well. You know what I'm saying? You get incentives. They'll pick you out of 30 guys. I used to get some of these food bar missions. Oh my God. And it's like, why I gotta get this stuff? He's like, oh yeah, I'm one of the best guys. Okay. But then once you get in trouble, now you the fall guy. You may be the best guy for the job, but you the fall guy too. So they be doing that. And that's what they did to our brothers and sisters during the Revolutionary War. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you guys free? Yeah, we made a mistake. Yeah, we promised the Brits a lot of money and other nations. So you black guys got to keep working. Yeah, appreciate that. And so again, the brother's correct. People gonna wake up who wake up. And some of my brothers, they may wake up, when those, chariots show up. But please do not be hard on your brothers and sisters that serve in these countries or this country, and that's a part of the police and stuff like that. They don't know. So we have to take our time with them and get them to know. And, I got out, I wanted to be a police officer in Philadelphia. My family was like, what? I'm like, yeah, I want to give back. I was gone, man. I think the only thing I was missing was white skin, blue eyes, and blonde hair. You know what I'm saying? I was gone, and then the Most High got me right up out of there. You know, I was chewing tobacco, all that stuff. I was wearing flip flops. I was wearing the little hat
Hey,
with the
you had that
American.
one all the way down, didn't you, bro?
I was done, bro. I was going, man. You know what I'm saying? Only thing I wasn't walking around with my rifle. I was going. I'm talking to cops like I'm white. What? Wait a minute. Now I got my. I was done, man. And I'm just glad the Most High he woke me up, man. I was looking at some of these brothers. I was like, yeah, that was me. But he woke me up, and all praises. So again, like the brother was saying, certain people are not going to get this. So just come at them light, dib and dab with it, and then eventually, they're going to wake up out of this Christianity. And if not, we'll see them in the kingdom. Lord willing, we make it. So without further ado, I won't take anybody else's time up. Get them. The baby should be asleep. What time is it? Put them kids to bed. All right. I know they probably want to wait to class. Put them to bed. So, you guys you married couples can have some peace. I know y'all got to work in the morning and stuff like that. So I appreciate everybody, tuning into the class. Hopefully it's edifying. If not, I don't know. Talk about my glasses or something. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But hopefully it was edifying. And you guys took something away from this. And until next week, most high willing. HOI to the chariots fly. Kwame Shirala. We got next. And Death to America. Shalom.
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 Shalom.